Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. Dun, dun. It's a raccoon with a talk show slinging culture facts you might not know. From the biggest flops to the greatest hits, this is Trash Can Tidbits.
Hey everyone, I'm Beaton, and welcome back to my final Trash Can Tidbits video of 2020. Last week... You know what? I'm not feeling it this week. Let's do something a little different.
That's better. Welcome to VRChat. I finally figured out how to make videos in here, so for this last video of the year, let's pull out all the stops and have some fun. Last week, I asked the question, Alice in Wonderland was the first Disney movie to credit the voice actors and their characters. What was the second? The answer is The Jungle Book. Whereas Alice credited their cast members at the end of the film, The Jungle Book was in fact the first Disney movie to acknowledge the voice actors and the characters they played at the beginning of the film over the opening credits. Now, let's get started with fact number 1. Did you know that the cast of the Golden Girls once performed for the Queen of England? Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, was such a huge fan of the series that she asked the cast to perform in a show just for her. The event was televised in 1988 during London's annual Royal Variety Show performance in which the Queen Mother herself attended. Betty White, B. Arthur, Rue McClanahan, and Estelle Getty performed favorite moments from the show in a 10-minute sketch, and in the end met the royal herself in the receiving line. Fact 2. Did you know that the actors who played the apes in Planet of the Apes formed their own, I guess, shall we say, class structure during the making of the films? All the actors, who were made up as different ape species, tended to hang out with their own kind behind the scenes. Gorillas hung out with gorillas, chimps hung out with chimps, and orangutans hung out with other orangutans. This wasn't even a requirement from the production, it just naturally happened, as it seemed to bring out a sense of camaraderie between the different ape species. Ironically, class structure and speciesism are one of the film's main themes. Fact 3. Did you know that Lady and the Tramp was the first Disney movie to not originally be based on a previously existing story? The story originally began life as a trampless film starring Lady, which was based on animator Joe Grant's dog. But Walt didn't care for the story and it was tossed out. Later, Walt saw a story in Cosmopolitan magazine by Ward Green called Happy Dan the Whistling Dog, and he got the idea of revisiting the Lady story and put the two characters together, and the story was built up around that. Green was later commissioned by Disney to write a book about the finished story, and it was released before the film. Meanwhile, Joe Grant got no credit for the story's real inception until the early 2000s, when the Platinum Edition DVD finally acknowledged him. Fact 4. Did you know that Goldfinger is the only James Bond film in the Sean Connery era to make no reference at all to the evil organization Spectre? However, in the video game GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which is not a sequel to the original Nintendo 64 game GoldenEye, the character of Auric Goldfinger is shown as a major supporting character. In the game, you play as an unnamed former MI6 agent who has his eyes shot out of his socket by Dr. No, and Goldfinger creates a cybernetic eye for him made out of gold, a golden eye. The agent then sets out for revenge against Dr. No, with Goldfinger and Pussy Galore assisting him. Fact 5. Did you know that Catherine Beaumont, the original voice of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, had originally had a different introductory song written for her? Alice was originally supposed to sing a slow ballad called Beyond the Laughing Sky, which was written in the style of Somewhere Over the Rainbow from The Wizard of Oz. It was discovered, however, that Beaumont couldn't sing in that style, so Alice's song was changed to the more upbeat song In a World of My Own. Beaumont, who also voiced Wendy in Peter Pan, would reprise the role of Alice over 50 years later for the video game Kingdom Hearts at the age of 64. Fact 6. Did you know that the gymnasium which opens up to reveal a swimming pool underneath it in It's a Wonderful Life was real? The famous scene at the beginning of the film, where Jimmy Stewart and Don Reed are dancing in the Charleston contest, and then they fall into the pool and everyone follows suit, was filmed at Beverly Hills High School. It was very much real and not a set. kind of puts John Hughes to shame, doesn't it? Bonus fact, the young man whom Jimmy Stewart steals Don Reed away from and as revenge turns the key to open the pool was played by Carl Switzer, better known as Alfalfa from The Little Rascals. Fact 7. Did you know that the first Crash Bandicoot game had a traditionally animated introductory title sequence? It was done in the style of a Saturday morning cartoon and featured the voice of voice-acting legend Jim Cummings, singing a cheesy, typical 90s-esque cartoon theme song that set up the story of the game. The cutscenes were taken out because the team at Naughty Dog wanted to emphasize the game's 3D graphics. The cut footage has now been uploaded to YouTube, and as cheesy as they are actually rather good and would have made for a neat cartoon series. Fact 8. Did you know that the PS1 game Croc Legend of the Gobbos was originally developed as a Yoshi game for Nintendo? Argonaut Software, the team that made the original Star Fox for the SNES, pitched the idea of a 3D game starring Yoshi from Super Mario. But having already made Yoshi's Island for the SNES as well as Super Mario 64 as a launch title for the Nintendo 64, Nintendo turned Argonaut down. Argonaut instead took their game engine to Sony, who accepted it and created an original character, Croc. No, not that Croc. The game Croc Legend of the Gobbos was released in 1997. Fact 9. Did you know that the original Twisted Metal had live-action endings for each of the characters? They were deleted for a number of reasons, the main ones being they were too cheesy, they were over the top, the makeup was awful, and more importantly, they were filmed using the game's original title, High Octane. They were thought to have been lost until they were included in the bonus features for the PS2 game Twisted Metal Head-On Extra Twisted Edition. The game also includes cut levels from Twisted Metal Black. Fact 10. Did you know that Gone with the Wind got a sequel? The sequel, Scarlet, was written by Alexander Ripley in 1991, over 50 years after the original film came out. The story was eventually filmed as a miniseries in 1994, and it was there that the two main actors reached a turning point in their careers. Actress Joanne Whalley, who played Scarlett O'Hara, announced her divorce from Val Kilmer, and Timothy Dalton, who played Red Butler, announced his official resignation from the role of James Bond. And here's this week's trivia question. Game of Thrones has been successfully adapted from the book A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. Despite some, hiccups with the final season, it satisfied a generation of fantasy fans with its characters, storytelling, and sprawling folklore. Martin, however, almost never let it happen because he thought his books were too big to be made into a series of films, even though The Lord of the Rings was a huge success at the time. The real clincher came when the failure of another film based on a best-selling series of fantasy novels convinced Martin to never make the books into films. Ironically, this failed movie eventually became a successful HBO series that is vastly superior. My question to you is, which movie based on the first installment of the successful book series convinced George R.R. Martin to not let Game of Thrones be made into a movie? And there we go for this week, and my final video for 2020. I think after this year, we should finish things off by blowing off some steam, don't you think? Ah, now this is more like it. What's this I see? Goodbye 2020. Here's hoping 2021 will be much better. Happy New Year to all of you out there. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and ring the bell for future video notifications. And stay tuned for more VR videos where I do more fun things and more Trash Can Tidbits trivia. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next year.